Very much. I love being able to shut out Jesse. You know, he's censored. Jesse is not allowed to share his thoughts when he is on the 5 panel. That's just how it works. So.
One day Milos will ask me a question first, okay? And when the turns table, I'm gonna abuse that so hard. Just you wait.
Turntables. Oh, you listen to records too? Nice, man.
Okay. ENX versus Team Liquid. The desk, I think, set it up perfectly, Parker. This is do or die for Liquid. Unlike last year, there is no LCQ, so they need to turn their season around right now, or things are not going to go well for them for the rest of their stage. Team Liquid have lost 13 of their last 16 games, and of those 3 matches that they were able to win, one was against FaZe Clan. Great, okay, good team. One was against Joel Esports. All right. Huge. And the other was against Packer, which, sorry, Packer. But the point is, it's been a long time since Liquid fans have had anything to be happy about. They need to get something big today. They're playing against one of the other worst teams in the league. They need to get a win right now, or the season might just be over until September.
Yeah, I mean, there's a long drought here. And for an organization like Liquid, which is one of the biggest and most infamous and most well-known esports orgs in the world, for crying out loud, Liquipedia, the esports Wikipedia, is named after Team Liquid for crying. Like, they simply just have to be better. That's just the way it works, especially after splashing out and getting a new roster. You don't bring in 2 brand new players to this team without expecting there to be some results. And I mean, when you look at Gomez, or sorry, when you look at Diaz and Ask, I get them confused because they always play together. I always say Gomez and Diaz. When you look at players like Ask and Diaz, you expect the team to improve a little bit. Obviously, with Lagonis gone, it means that there's new leadership at the helm of Team Liquid. With Palu gone, you've lost a little bit of fragging potential. Sometimes some people would say quite a lot of fragging potential. But this is a team that really should not be in last in any region, period. The fact that Liquid is here, I don't even know where you begin to diagnose the problem.
Well, they're going to have to figure it out at some point, because once again, this game feels quite do or die. Up against their former player in terms of Sexy Cake. It's been a while since he's been on Liquid, but of course, probably his most famous team that he's been up against. And Sexy Cake, of course, would love to get yet another win up against his old teammate of Nesk. So we'll see what he can do playing on the Blackbeard, making this entry in towards top East. With the Azami ban holding East becomes really difficult, but Smoke is the go-to operator for most East Stairs players if Azami is not available, and Ask is going to follow the trend, bringing the SAS operator to try to lock this down. It means those Toxic Babes will get used early rather than late, but they still get value. What a good entry.
Don't love that you lost the Blackbeard so early on. I'm not very pressed about losing the Vigil. On a map like this, on a roam-friendly border, a Vigil can be a real nightmare to deal with, but a lot of players like to bring the Boss G and play a close range. Maya wasn't doing that, he had the K1A. Down goes Nesk, as well as both Nigel and Sexy Cake are in the ground, leaving just Bach, Angels, and Florio. Florio, a name that many people should recognize. Same as Sexy Cake. As the desk discussed, these players are relatively well known. Brief bit of action, and now it's Angels take down Ask. My goodness. What is happening here with these engagements all over the place? Liquid not playing like a team at all. Very unsupported roams, swinging and trying to get back to the bomb site with limited intel. Now it's Resets' turn to do the same, looking outside onto the balcony, but can't find anything, as now it will be a circle around Office in Fountain, for which Resets is prep Jesse.
2v3 still really hoping to get some of these swings back, but it doesn't matter. DS gets one, but his teammate, he gets traded on out, so it's Resets now in the 1v2. SMG-11 in his hands, and no defuse kit, but it doesn't matter as Angels comes in from behind to make sure that he can shut down that clutch potential. Clean round from ENX. I mean, I really like the way they broke that round down. They started off over by East Stairs, had everybody focused on that side of the map. They got their entry point there. They eventually cleaned up the Smoke player who had tried to rotate down to the bottom floor, and then just picked off players one by one, making sure they didn't let any trades come through from Liquid.
Again, Liquid just suffering through it, right? ENX is a team that also exists in the bottom of the standings.
Yeah.
Just in case anybody needed a reminder, if you missed the desk and all that talked about it, Team Liquid is in 10th place. They are the only team in South America League right now that does not have a victory. All the teams above them have at least one. Most of the teams, in fact, have a win in regulation, which means that even if Liquid wins in regulation here, depending on the round differential, they might not really move in the standings. They might go up 1 point, 2 points. If they really blow it out, they could actually vault over ENX and jump up to 7th, but then they're 3 points back of the next team, which is Furia. So it's a long road for Liquid. As the graphics showed, they had the same issue in a previous stage when they were playing in the Brazilian League in BR6. So Liquid are no strangers to adversity. I don't know why they seem to hate their fans and want them to have as much suffering as possible during a match. But if you are a fan of Liquid, you have been here before, and you probably consider this somewhat normal.
Well, round 2 for Liquid to try to bounce back. Usually top floor is what we want to see. A team winning on this map. Portal can be very attacker sided, but it's not always so simple. There might be a bit of a play coming out here as the first Vinca charge has gone out. Already Nigel gets the opening pick onto Ask, so they're starting to make a little bit of space, but it looks like the push is just coming towards East. Bot gets 1 kill as well, but with a trade back onto Angels, it's not going to be all favorable for ENX. They still have this control, though. They should be happy with the first 60 seconds of this game, as they've really managed to nab control of the eastern stairs and now can use that to push down into the bomb site. Information here for Nesk. He could go for a play, though.
Oh, resets eliminating Bach. Now the Nitro SAL for a potential follow-up, but it does not go. Nesk torn to pieces by Nigel, once again running that Finca with the spear. His resets will engage and win the duel against Sexy Cake. A bit of a baffling play. Sexy Cake, a former member of Team Liquid. He knows these guys quite well. Now, Nigel and Florio will be quick to get to the bomb site. Side by side. 2 Adrenal Surges still in pocket for Nigel as Florio holds on to 1 Selma, and 2 remaining players from Liquid are on a single point of HP. It'll be out on the catwalk now, and there's resets. Grabbing the kill from behind. Florio has no choice, Jesse, but to look in that direction. All this action happening, there's still over a minute left.
Yeah, Florio, he's happy he has time, but this is still not a good spot. No information to where resets might be. He'll open another angle with the Selma to try to pressure this player, and a good shot. Worked out where he had to be based on where he wasn't receiving fire from, so then cleans up on the resets. 1v1, and DS is very low health.
Very, very low. And this is like incredibly winnable. Both of these teams on a single point of HP. Florio will attempt the defuse plan with 45 seconds left. And now it's Diaz to make a bit of noise. He pops him off of this position. Bullet tracers go by and Diaz knows exactly where he is. But Florio gets him through the wall. And Liquid get mighty close, but not close enough. 2 in a row for ENX.
Huge round from Florio, shutting down Diaz. We know how dangerous Diaz can be, clutching on border. At the 6th Invitational on this map, he had the only 1v5 of the tournament. I think that was up against CAG Osaka, where he got the 1v5 clutch coming out. That was an attacking on Vent's workshop bomb site, but not up against ENX, it seems. The play from Florio, just too good. I loved the way he cleaned up that first kill. You know, it really wasn't an easy one. He had no idea where Resets was going to be. Resets had been a slippery little rat that whole round, unable to be pinned down as the entirety of Team Liquid kind of supported him. ENX weren't able to find Resets at all, despite the kills he was getting. But then, of course, it's Florio to come on back and find that frag to be able to then spiral into another pick late into the 1v1. Beautiful stuff coming out from the former hard support of Black Dragons, now hard support of of ENX.
10 seconds to go.
Oh, Liquid. Border is a relatively coin flip map. I mean, we haven't seen enough games across all regions to be able to talk about it confidently. It does tend to skew towards the defenders, like almost every single map in the map pool, but it's often not enough to distinguish it as a defender-sided map. It can go either way. The fact that ENX has taken the first 2 rounds on attack is not surprising, but it does give a little bit of cause for concern with the way that Liquid are playing. I think what is more concerning to me is how spread out everybody is on Liquid. They are not playing like a team. Even Resets in the previous round almost won it for his team, not because of teamwork or strategy, but just because he's a talented player who read the situation well on his own. Now, if you've got a whole team of players doing that and they're gelling together as a unit, you're going to be in good shape. Liquid, so far through these rounds, don't really think they are in very good shape, and I wouldn't be surprised if they pull out a tactical timeout after this round if they end up losing.
Yeah, I mean, they're starting to dig themselves into a hole. This should be another rush strat as Nigel's getting ready to set up the push in through main stairs. The yokai camp from Ask will be massive, but if everybody's blind, it might not matter if they can deny the plant once or twice.
And Reset starting off strongly from where he was in the previous round. Diaz downed, or rather Reset's downed as Diaz gets the kill. ENX really struggling on the entry at this point. They went for a very linear execute. They just wanted to go straight into Workshop. It did not work out for them. They met their match against Liquid, whose guns were simply better. We saw the Nigel on the Aurora closing the doorway, giving some comfort to those playing over by Workshop. Surprise Resets has not been picked back up. His health is depleting very quickly, which would suggest to me he's trying to move to a place where he could be a little bit safe. Maya eliminated by Bach, so just like that, with Resets bleeding out, Jesse goes back to a 3v3.
Yeah, good on ENX to claw this one back into the realm of possibility. It was a really weird rush. They tried to go really deep into Workshop rather than just planting inside events. Didn't really pay off, and now they don't know the full position of Team Liquid either. There are some rat players around here, DS in particular inside a bathroom. They know his general location, but they don't have a direct ping. The rest of these players as well holding her to the top floor, so if they can get a vert angle onto a plant that goes down inside of Workshop, that could be big for them too. Don't necessarily have the information, but it can always be a problem if you get denied from up above.
This is a position that Diaz has been sitting in for quite a while, and you can hear the footsteps not far removed. Sexy Cake will search for his very first kill, and I think he's got a beat on it, but second guesses the position, and Diaz will give himself away. Sexy Cake is none the wiser as Angel trades it back. Angel's the only one standing. Ask and Nesk, the last two alive, holding from above, and Angel doesn't seem to know where they are. Diffuser is just out of reach. He'll pick it up and determine where he wants to plant. There's a yokai drone in, and Ask will save the round. Team Liquid finally get on the board and deny ENX a perfect rotation on attack.
A little surprising to me that nobody on ENX ever decided to go push that top floor. Obviously, they were in a 3v5 very early, but then it felt like all three players were hyper fixated on DS inside of bathroom, who was a problem they needed to solve. But other than Bach, who went top floor very briefly to kill Maya, they were very focused on the main floor. Both Nesk and Ask existed up above the bomb site the entirety of that round, meaning that with yokais in sight, there was really no way they were going to lose that unless some ridiculous vert shot came out from ENX. So, bit questionable maybe on how they played that late round, but obviously once the brunt of that push falls to pieces, it's always going to be difficult to recover on the side of ENX. So still for the 2-1 first quarter, you're not going to be too upset about that. The Ying does get banned out, so Liquid kind of recognizing that, hey, that could have been a much worse round than it ended up being. That Ying can be absolutely devastating. We need to remove it. And then ENX with the Mira ban as well. Hasn't played a little bit from Team Liquid so far in this game, so I can respect that. Last round, actually, the first time it got played, that was Nesk.
Bomb located by attackers.
Nesk is a player that I'm always keeping my eye on when it comes to the success of Liquid. He's in a bit of a way, he's the canary in a coal mine, so to speak. If Nesk is having a really good game, more often than not, Liquid is winning. If Nesk is having a bad game, the team might still be winning, but it is far from certain. He tends to go where Nesk goes. When you had Palu, you had equal offensive threats. Maya was brought in, who, by the way, has 0 kills at the moment, which on his role is tremendously bad, like catastrophically bad. But when you brought Maya in, I don't want to say Palu was a bit expendable, but so often Liquid relied on that 1-2 punch of Palu and Nesk, while the support players did what they needed to do, but usually didn't rack up the kills. Every now and then you'd see Resets do that. Lagonis very rarely would do anything big. There'd be next to no splashes on his side of the coin. Now you brought in a change of the way that the team is going to play. If Nesk and Maya are not able to get kills, I genuinely fear that Liquid just do not have the depth to recover and cover up the two players who you expect to lead the way. Maya in particular was brought on to dominate, and we've seen him dominate time and time again. Unfortunately for Liquid, not yet today.
Yeah, Nesk's been struggling all stage long. It's probably the worst start to the season he's had in his career. leads the league in deaths, but he's still looking to turn that around. Here comes a Sens wall early from Bach, and it does still eat a Nitro. That's exactly what he didn't want to happen. He was trying to bait, but it didn't matter. Now his whole team is starting to fall around him. It's only Florio and Sexy Cake, and Sexy Cake gets double swung on the stairs, and Parker, the round's just over. Everybody tries to collapse off just one little play from the Sens coming in on the vents window, but Liquid read into it perfectly. They know exactly what's going on the side of ENX, and so they shut that down beautifully.
These are just this is border. I mean, that's how border plays out. Sometimes you blink and the round is over, right? It is a smaller map than it feels like at times, and it can be a much bigger map in very rare instances. But with the exception of that lobby area, you don't really have a lot of roam potential between floors. If you leave a hatch open, you can drop down, but really only that lobby part, which is what's on the screen right now, that's the only place that you can really jump down into. Unfortunately, if it's being held or cut off, as it almost certainly will be on this bomb site, then you don't really have much you can do, barring a sprint outside between armory and security, or potentially going down main stairs and trying to cut through workshop. But again, there are a lot of places to hide on this map, but not a lot of places to escape to. It makes roam clearing very, very interesting for the defenders, because you're going to get droned out many, many times, and they might just let you sit and wait because they know there are very few ways for you to get to another part of the map. A great example of this for people who are old enough to remember was that old Vitality team that would drone everything for 2.5 minutes and then just kill you. Obviously, they were not the best team in the world, but their system worked for them, and you should watch some of their matches on Border. They were very impressive. Old Vitality.
New Vitality is not a team. Now,
I mean,
now they're called Wolves.
Yeah,
I mean, that's not even the same team at all.
I mean, I was talking about like not one of the newer Vitality rosters. I'm talking about an older one. Oh,
attempted swing from Maya. Again, it's
Maya.
All about holding on to this east stairs control, right? Combining with Ask, who's playing bottom east stairs with those toxic babes to stall things out. Maya and Ask working as a bit of a duo here. It was relatively successful the first time they ran it up against the Blackbeard of Sexy Cake, where they went 1-for-1. Wasted some time too, but here we go. This is the problem, coming in from break and immediately being pressured.
Oh my goodness. How does Liquid clean out the entire server again? ENX just falling by the wayside, finally getting on the board, Jesse, as Angels takes out Ask. Him and Bach left standing again. The breakneck pace that's being set by these teams means there's a great deal of time after the initial burst of action. ENX have to go back to the drawing board here. They've still got utility, 1 flame bolt and 2 smoke bolts. You got a Twitch drone and 2 smokes in pocket for Bach, so it's not the end of the world, but you have to get a pick relatively quickly. That is step number 1 for ENX. Find and isolate one of these players off site and then go from there. And, well, they found him, but they found him in the wrong way. Now all of the coverage around Angels will disappear, and Liquid sweep through ENX. This looks more like the team that we expect to see.
I think it was Fresh on the desk that talked about potentially banning shields up against Sexy Cake because he'd been playing them a lot. And Fresh is right. 10 of the 22 attacking rounds that Sexy Cake has played before this game have been on shields, and he's had a decent win rate with them as well. But I'm not so confident the shield play has been going as well for Sexy Cake. That round on the Blackbeard, not able to have the impact he wanted to, rushing into break room with still Nesk and other players having full access to his backside to be able to get that kill. Previously on the Fuse as well, he ran this a couple rounds ago, and he also really wasn't able to find much success kind of playing by himself. So this has kind of been a bit of a problem for him so far this game. I think Liquid have done a great job of countering that shield play that ENX have been trying to bring out, not only by banning the 2 stronger shields in terms of Monty and Blitz, but also just by not allowing Sexy Cake to find these isolated picks where somebody is going to be all alone, where you're most vulnerable to one of those shields. It's been nice to see Liquid kind of turn that around. It's been nice seeing Ness turn things around too. 4-3 after that big collateral kill 2K in the previous rounds. You mentioned it. Liquid kind of only does well when Ness is doing well. That's been the case so far through this stage. So Ness is starting to get hot. That's a good sign for anybody who wants Liquid to find their first win.
Like seeing the Supernova on the board. Echo's pick rate has jumped up quite heavily. Have to suspect that operator bans are having a huge impact on that, right? Echo is not usually, for most teams and on most maps, is not usually a top 5 must-play operator. But when you lose a Miro, when you lose an Azami, if you lose a Kaid or a Bandit, or you lose a Smoke, suddenly Echo becomes way more desirable for these defenders. And people forget that he's got a great kit. Yeah, the Bearing 9 is a lot harder to control than people were used to at one point in time. And yeah, the Yokai drones are easier to see, but he still does good damage. You can still stash the Yokai drones in awkward places, especially on a map like Border, where there's lots of pipes above. You can send a Yokai drone up there. Or if you want to do what most teams have done lately, Jesse, is you send a Yokai on an exploration journey. And you just send them off and have somebody roam with them.
Maya hoping for a kill. They weren't holding any of the south part of the map on the side of Liquid, so now he kind of needs to contest them. It's been a weird breach. Obviously wants to play on the rappel. What a tight angle he holds, but he doesn't get rewarded with the kill just yet. Blackbeard's going to be awkward as well. Forces him to move and then right into the crossfire where he managed to make his escape, but lucky to be alive if you're Maya.
Maya was at 0-3, Jesse. 3 kills since, no deaths. Every round that Liquid has won since has been in large part because of Maya and Maya's contributions. They had him on the run as one of those death marks from Nigel were used to try to pin down the off-site player. Off-site is in the sense that he's above the bomb site, close enough to have impact on the execute, but ultimately not there to stop it in its tracks. Ask has died, so all the talk we did about the Echo seems to be a bit moot here. Well, they'll look for a follow-up. Maya's been dropped. Liquid, after quite an electric set of rounds, has now regressed to the point that all ENX broke out to that 2-round lead, and they're looking very, very likely to tie this up. Team Liquid just with Nesk and Diaz. Oldest player on the team and one of the newest players on the team will be fighting for their life. Diaz down for the count. ENX have an opportunity for a flawless round. Can Nesk shut it down? He's going to miss out on the diffuser being planted, chased off his position as bullets whiz over his head, and a death mark harasses him, giving information to Nigel. Nesk will know too where he is, firing away. No flawless round, but Nesk also has to deal with the time as the diffuser is now at 30 seconds. Long range Sexy Cake will take revenge against his former team, if you could call it that. He's been off the squad for a couple years, and the first half starts no closer to a resolution than when the game began. 3-3 on both sides.
2 nade kills is not something you see too often in today's game, but the first one came off of a really poorly timed drop from Ask. He got really unlucky, to be honest, that he just dropped the hatch straight onto a nade I don't think he realized was there, and then the second one was confirming a downed player. Maya had lost a gunfight towards the top of metal stairs, so they got to use some of that utility to open themselves up a couple of picks. I thought Sexy Cake's Blackbeard play was a lot better in that round. I kind of criticized it earlier, so I'll give credit now that he did a really good job of making some space, distracting some of those roamers' attention so that his teammates could come in and get some picks as well. And then once that man advantage happened, I mean, it's going to be a pretty clean time pushing into the bomb site 5v2. So they get their 3 attacks on Border, about where you expect them to be on the side of ENX. For Liquid, you're coming on to the attacking side now, which is good for you. You're a slightly worse attacking team than you are a defending team, but because defense is generally easier for teams anyways, Team Liquid are the worst defending team in the league, not quite so on the attack. So they got through their worst half, only losing 3 on a map like Border. I think you'll take that if you're Team Liquid. You're still looking at maybe an overtime here, which isn't good if you want to make playoffs, but at the end of the day, this could have gone a whole lot worse.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. It could have also gone a whole lot better.
Fair.
We don't need to be glass half empty type people. I mean, there are definitely areas of improvement for Team Liquid, even here. I mean, Liquid doesn't have a win. I mean, we need to keep saying it, unfortunately, just because it is something that is important for the overall health of our broadcast and talking about and contextualizing the league. But if Liquid is to start winning games, it's a no-brainer that it should come against teams like ENX and 9Z and Los, who are also at the bottom, right? The fact that Liquid is currently tied against ENX shows that this isn't really a fluke. Liquid are genuinely suffering and are not just some really strong team that's had a bad bout of misfortune. It's showing that Liquid really are struggling through as much as the stats would suggest. ENX, on the other hand, have dealt with the explosiveness on the side of Liquid. They've been able to shut down resets when he's been streaking. They've held Nesk and Maya to only 8 kills through 6 rounds. Those are things that are quite big accomplishments, especially for a younger and a newer team that doesn't have all the experience that a team like, say, Liquid does.
3 Nitro cells being brought by ENX with Valk cams and a clash for information. So watch out for Angels to potentially pop something from down below. Nigel as well playing below. Not sure if that's something Liquid have read into. They've done a good job droning out of security. They've droned out break quite a bit, and here they will find 1 of 2 players down on that bottom floor. So that's got to be something that they are thinking about. If they know there's a Valkyrie, they'll be very aware that that Valk Cam plus Nitro combo could be a problem. They'll have to send somebody down below to try to deal with that if they want to go for a plant deep inside lockers, which might be the plan. They're actually kind of posted over towards Archives instead, which you can dodge a Nitro, but you've got to plant in a pretty specific spot. Now, okay, they are here towards lockers, so if they go for this, they got to be really careful about their plant spot. Knowing there's that Nitro down below could be make or break for their push. Execute on the clash as well, gonna hope to stall this out. I'm feeling like we might get a 5v5 execute. Never mind.
Well, you're wrong. Nigel kills Maya and your idea is in the dirt. Just like Maya is, all the praise that we'd sung to Maya is now effectively gone, as he had those 3 great kills in a row and since then has been relatively listless. Resets on the other side of the coin has been bar none the best player on Liquid, finding entry picks, trying to save the round, hugely impactful kills for the most part. That was part of why they made the changes they did, was allow resets to play with a bit more confidence and be a bit more cavalier. ENX left with 3 players as resets now not just getting a kill, but also successfully planting the diffuser while Diaz looks towards top metal. That's where ENX will retake from. And both Nesk and Diaz will punish the players from ENX. Now it's Nigel's turn to inhabit the same part of the map, and Diaz will shut him down. 2 for Diaz, 1 for Nesk. Resets gets diffuser down and gets out of dodge. That's the right play to make, and Liquid look mighty good on their first attack.
Big round from Diaz. 2 picks in the end, as you mentioned, but also was the main driver behind that kill onto the clash. He tossed out a nade, which was in the vicinity of Sexy Cake and caused Sexy Cake to kind of panic. He tried to run away, opened up his backside to be shot. I think it was by resets outside of the breach. So really big round from Diaz. Obviously, the new player coming into Team Liquid, the first ever player to be imported to a Brazilian team, kind of filling in the role that Paulo used to play on this squad. So it's big shoes to fill in for Diaz, but I really like it. I really like the swap to come out from Liquid. Much like Paulo, Diaz is a very passive player. He loves playing for that late round, but he plays a bit more support roles than what you sometimes see from Paulo. So it's nice to see Diaz working well on this team. He's had some good games, some bad games so far on Team Liquid, but happy to see him stepping up today. It really does feel like he's been meshing with the squad through the first 7 rounds.
10 seconds to go.
Oh, I'll be very intrigued to see how
5
ENX
seconds left.
decides to troubleshoot this now. Again, they're a new organization that has not built up the same reputation in Siege as a lot of the other orgs in Brazil have. You know, Miners GG is no longer here. Vivo Keedstars is no longer here. Now we've got some new orgs that are competing. And of course, part of that was also the merging of the Latin America and South American leagues with Brazil. Brazil still dominates the region, let's not kid ourselves, but there is one team that still has the Argentinian core. The moment that one of those players leaves, it will go back to Brazil dominated, but for the time being, just like we see with cruelty in North America, it's nice to have. Who would have thought that there would be a Middle Eastern team in Europe in the EML League, but Falcons decided to buy out the old BDS team instead, so no Middle Eastern squads were able to qualify, so it's all just Europeans, and that's okay. Hopefully, we'll see a Middle Eastern team be able to crack the region in the next set of qualifications. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're currently looking at the South America League and the Brazilian teams right now as Diaz gets the first kill onto Nigel. Valkyrie is dead, but passive gadgets, Jesse. Valkyrie will still provide value even while off the board.
Yeah, and here comes a big push down to the east stairs. Angels was playing that really passive. Usually they play quite far up on the east stairs. I think that's what was expected by Nesk, but he plays really far down in towards waiting, which he's able to do thanks to those reinforcements that he was able to put up. Still alive now. Cleaned up just as I say it. Resets, gets the angle, but that's a good bit of time waste. That's a good pick for Angels to be able to get. Now you're in a 3v4. You're still not in a super comfortable position, but you've got the clash up from Sexy Cake. He's playing top floor with Boxzera, and Florio down inside the site, inside a workshop with the long angles towards bathroom. It's going to make a difficult prospect for Liquid to have this push go forward.
Bach is now taking a much more forward look over by Office. Florio and Sexy Cake have their hands full with the remaining players of Liquid. An advantage by 1 for Liquid and the Horsemen. They spot the clash. And Nomad's air jab is a great thing to deal with. Sexy Cake swings around the shield. He gets picked apart, resets 2 for 2 on getting Diffuser down. Liquid mighty good with these executes. Maybe it's just an attacker-sided border. Maybe we got a bit ahead of ourselves. Down goes Bach, and Florio will be thrown in the same grave as Liquid wins 2 rounds in a row on attack and are now 2 away from their first victory of the stage.
So it seems that the Clash rework isn't completely unbeatable as Sexy Cake finds that out. Team Liquid, good push, really focused. You know, they didn't try to take the entire map. They didn't try to overextend themselves. They said, we're going to take East. We're going to go down the stairs into waiting, and we're going to go in and plant, and that's all they really needed. There was nobody inside of customs for a long angle to try to get an eye on that plant, so they didn't have any real way to deny the plant from going down. Of course, they also lost a couple of players early in towards East Stairs, which limited the potential they had. There was a flank from Bach, which we saw just at the end, where he came in through break up towards Rafters, which would have gotten the job done. In fact, Bach did kill Resets, but it was just a little bit too late. By the time Bach's flank came through, the plant had already gone into the ground. If Bach's a little bit faster in that flank, you got to think that that round goes a lot better for ENX, but unfortunately, the timing just not there. So Team Liquid looking good, and a tactical timeout gets called by ENX. They'll have their chance to talk with their coach, which I believe is Pandex, is the primary coach for ENX. So hopefully they can break down some of these issues. Border defense is not easy by any stretch of the imagination.
No, not at all. I mean, ENX is obviously suffering through that, so it is nice to see new orgs join the scene. It is a bit unfortunate that they have not had the same success that some other orgs have had. I mean, this has been an odd stage for a lot of regions, and I'm not just talking about SAL. NAL's been a little bit upside down. EML is not shaking out the way that I would have suspected either. Same with APL. Actually, every region in that case. But I mean, Brazil has always been a real meat grinder. Let's be completely frank here. You know, when I talked earlier in the broadcast about the big 3 teams, that was years ago. Like, we're talking before COVID. We're talking 5+ years ago at this point. There's been a wide variety of teams that have excelled. Low/Team 1 obviously went on their miracle run. Like, Liquid had some great looks. NIP obviously won a world championship. FaZe has been good the whole time. W7M came out of nowhere. You had very briefly that Immortals MIBR squad that was very good at making top 4 at events. Brazil is the most competitive region in Rainbow Six, and it's a point that I've made, and the numbers frankly back up. So when you look at domestic results here, some of the best teams in the region internationally struggle domestically. Furia and FaZe are not usually undefeatable or unbeatable when it comes to other Brazilian matches, yet when it comes to international events, they clean up. So you got to get through Brazil first. All of the teams are kind of learning that the hard way right now. Liquid and ENX are not world beaters based on the standings, but they have opportunities to improve for stage 2 if stage 1 you consider might be a bit out of reach. And for Liquid here, as we talked about, Jesse, if they lose, it feels like stage 1 would be out of reach.
Yeah, and this is going to be the East Stairs clear. A lot of util, the Capitao, the Nomad air jabs as well. Sexy Cake has avoided all of it, which has been really nice. That was kind of the opening that Team Liquid wanted. Another Capitao bolt goes out, but Sexy Cake, once again, able to just leave and gets the pump as well on Amaya. Brilliantly done. Another swing from Florio straight out from Offices. Makes it a 2-man advantage from ENX. They are standing tall on this East Stairs hold that Liquid dedicated all of their util to, and now they're in such a terrible position. 3 players alive. You didn't find any of these extended bodies. Sexy Cake is rotated all the way back to Fountain. Angels, who is break room, has also gone back to Fountain. They have just fallen off with that 2-man lead, confident they won't need to play any more aggressive players on the East Stairs. Really well done.
This is where the brakes might be getting hit, whether Liquid likes them or not. Now it's Nesk down for the count, and ENX is warming things up. Sexy Cake is obviously taking quite a beating here, but the rest of his team is in excellent shape. Look at how closely these two are, and Resets will get out-dueled by Nigel. Sexy Cake on limited HP will give ENX a flawless round, and just like that, things come to a close. You know what you can say about Border, Jesse, is that no round plays out the same, and so far, that rings true here in this match.
Yeah, really creative way to try to take that East Stairs. I don't know if I've seen anything quite like that before, with the Capital bolts coming in from the roof, the air jabs coming in through waiting, as we saw the Nomad walk in through the bottom floor, and then of course you've got the players directly walking in the East to try to take that gunfight. Really interesting utility work coming out from Liquid, and ENX remove a piece of that puzzle, so the Capital no longer going to be an option for clearing out the East Stairs. Big round from Sexy Cake as well in round number 9 as he stepped up for 3 big kills. It has been nearly 3 years since Team Liquid managed to win a game against Sexy Cake. July 2022 was the last time they beat their former player. They've lost twice since that game. Once when Sexy Cake was on 00 Nation, and once when Sexy Cake played for E1. 2 more orgs that are no longer in the scene down here in South America.
I completely forgot about 00 Nation. Oh my goodness, that is... What was the other one? There was that YAG Gaming. I believe that YAG Gaming was also in here briefly. You had INTZ, we had Pain Gaming, we had...
MIBR have left too now at this point.
Yeah, Boot Camp was in here as well. They're gone. There was...
10 seconds.
Really were. There's been an incredible run of orgs coming in and out of Brazil.
5 seconds to insertion.
The players largely stay the same. Like, I mean, the orgs are cycling through, but a lot of these guys have been around for so long.
Yeah, the only time you really see new players come in is if they're just turning 18, 19, maybe spending a couple seasons down in Challenger League, down in Tier 2. A lot of the time, yeah, I mean, the older guys, they've been here since the very beginning. Kind of a interesting dynamic in this game too. You've got the Boomer versus the Zoomer, the oldest player in the league, Nesk, up against the youngest player in the league, Bach. So far it's been Nesk who's played a little bit better today, but they're still very close with one another.
Been even across the board on Liquid with kills. I mean, if you look at Diaz at 9, Resets at 8, Nesk at 7, all on rolls where they should be getting kills. Maya as well could be tasked with that. I mean, Resets really shouldn't have 8 kills at this point, but it's worth noting that I think 3 of those kills, Jesse, came at the tail end of a round. Maya will find an entry kill onto Nigel with 2 minutes still left on the clock, and he's traded right back from Angels, who's just waiting for the call on the rotate outside on that triple panel. This is a strong position for Angels to be in. He's spotted with a Twitch drone, and it will cost him the mirror window, but he's not alone. Hawk's not far removed, and as Angels is playing an SAS operator, you got close range with the shotgun and long enough range with the SMG to count.
Sexy Cake's gotta be really careful. His angle is being held. He's the only player still on the bottom floor, but he knows the angle. He's careful to avoid it. He's been around the block a couple of times, so he knows where to step and where he can't. Most of the push, of course, going on the top floor. They want to be able to clear out some of these players over towards offices, but it's been slow going so far, Parker. After that one swing from Angels, they've really had to stop in their tracks. Doing a bit more droning at this point, doing a bit more util clear, both at the same time if you're Resets on the Twitch. And Sexy Cake as well, ratting a little bit down there in Workshop, trying to play under a desk. If this goes unspotted, this could be a massive decision.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time today that a player in a relatively common spot was not flushed out. I wonder if it will have the same devastating impact.
I think he just got droned. Maybe.
It sure looks that way. Nesk is walking right in, and yes, I mean, it was a bit of an ugly gunfight, and he hit the fire extinguisher at the same time, but doesn't really matter. Liquid had taken their foot off the gas pedal, but for a moment, it seems like they have sharpened things up and are right back at it, living their life 1/4 mile at a time, or kilometer, if you want to say that. Diaz with the exit kill, and Liquid move to match point, Jesse.
Yeah, good clear of the top floor, kind of as things were going on. Ness gets that pick on Angels, which we watched, and at the same time, Diaz was able to find Florio. Diaz pushing just up through the hallway into offices as well, with Florio playing kind of back inside of Archives. So you could tell that these are plays that are going on in sync with one another. Everybody's pushing together on the side of Team Liquid. Maybe it's a little bit slow, but they're all moving at one pace together, even if it's a bit on the slower side. Something we talked about for Black Dragons a lot earlier in the day and back in game number 2. This kind of teamwork, this coordination from Liquid, I don't think is something we've really seen over the last couple of weeks. Certainly not to this extent. We talk a lot about how Liquid sometimes take a while to get going with a new roster, and this roster has maybe been the most blatant example of that, as they have had a horrible start to the season. But now against a slightly weaker opponent, after 2 weeks to kind of grind through the mistakes, to figure out what's been going on inside of scrims, and to improve that chemistry that the players on Team Liquid still need time to develop, it feels like they're looking a lot better. It's not a perfect team by any means, but I'm confident that Liquid will be able to close out this game.
I mean, they're in a good spot at the moment, and they have definitely looked like they are commandeering their side of the map, at least right now. And Liquid have some really good looks here. I mean, again, the bones of Liquid are good. We know that they are a team that is perfectly capable of taking over matches. Maybe not so much in this iteration, but they still have players who can be monsters. I mean, Reset's just done it, Neska's done it, Maya's done it, even Diaz has done it. Ask is the only player who doesn't immediately jump to mind. But beyond that, it's a new game. And I know that for a lot of people, CJX might not feel entirely different, but it is different enough on certain maps and with certain operators that there is a distinction to be had here. Look at the confidence of Liquid at the moment. Maya's going to walk in, and Bach takes a lot of damage, but still stands in his position. One thing Liquid cannot do, Jesse, is get too confident and give their lives away for no reason.
Especially against ENX. I mean, these guys are talented. The desk hyped up Bach as kind of the young star of this team, the one to look out for. ENX still a very young roster with the exception of Sexy Cake, so they're still kind of developing their players, and Bach maybe has the most potential out of anybody. Nigel's the one taking the brunt of the flashes, though, inside of security. This air jab could be a huge problem with the nade as well. Mistiming things a little bit there.
It's really just not a very fun experience to be playing in that position, and Nigel, even as will Maya, which makes it very funny, it's not a particularly fun ride. Reminds me a lot of when Bolo was playing on, I think it was, I can't remember, was it Oregon or it was Clubhouse, and he ended up getting like Zofia stunned and then Goo Mind and a whole bunch of others. I can't even remember what it was, but it was just not a pleasant place to be. Sexy Cake Jesse will give the advantage in numbers back to ENX. Team Liquid are desperate to move up in the standings, and you have to imagine that going to OT for Liquid, win or lose, would be a major loss. They need all 3 of these points, and at least on this round, hope is fading very fast. Ask and Diaz are the last 2 alive that they'll pin their hopes on. And I mean, hey, they can make some magic happen. Diaz's doesn't kill comes at the expense of Angels. There's 45 seconds left on the clock for Liquid to dig themselves out of this hole.
Yeah, I mean, decent timing here. You've got full top floor control as well. Ask with the defuse kit. They've got everything that they need to make this push happen. No hard breach if the wall is reinforced from waiting, but they can hop in the windows. Are ENX going to be ready for that is the big question. The wall might even be soft, so they could just break it open with a shotgun. Yeah, this is a good rotate from Diaz. A bit of a lucky break as they can now make their way into sight.
They've got themselves in a pretty good spot right here. The question is this a bait? Which it is entirely possible. And it sure looks like it. Look at that. Florio's going to pick apart Ask. And now Diaz with his second kill. But Florio's in a strong enough spot to shut him down. Final round of regulation. These 2 teams so evenly matched as the standings would suggest, and the gameplay backs it up. All 12 will be needed between Liquid and ENX.
Surely Liquid won't choke it away now. I mean, the 6-4 advantage, they're playing a lot better. They're over the rough side. Maybe they're a little worried that they might. So they'll take the tactical timeout and have a chat with their new coach of this roster as well. Not so new, I guess. Tysus has been with this team as an analyst for quite some time, but has now moved into the head coach position. You see him there in the background of Maya and Nesk's cams. He's been with the team for a while, was on SSG, if my memory is correct, back in the day as an analyst position, and now being a head coach, I believe for the first time in his career after a long time. Coach Hugzord was moved off of this roster. So as long as they can just win this last little attack, I mean, they should be in good spirits. They should know how to win these rounds. It feels like Liquid have played the better game on the second half. They got to be clean in these early games. You can't be losing all those opening engagements. You can't be going down early in numbers. They know that themselves, and so they've got to find a way to make sure that that happens.
Reminder that both teams get to talk during the timeout, so I imagine we will see the best, or at least we should see the best here in what will be the final round of regulation. We are either 3 minutes away from a conclusion or roughly 10 to 15 minutes away, depending on whether overtime is needed and how long overtime takes. I will say, I knew very little about the players on ENX prior to the start of this league, and over the last couple weeks, well, they've obviously not succeeded to the level that they probably hope. I think there's potential here on the team.
10 seconds to go.
If you just look at the rosters, I do think it's fair to say that on paper, Liquid have an objectively superior team. Now, whether or not those players actually play like they're the better team is an entirely different story. But ENX have proven to be quite scrappy in a lot of their matchups. And I think, especially against Liquid, they are matching Liquid's aggression very well. And especially on a claustrophobic map, I've been impressed with some of the roams we've seen out of ENX.
A critical round for Liquid here. They can't really afford to drop even a single point to ENX, which they will if this heads to overtime. They've secured one at this point with their own 6th round, but it's not really enough given their spot on the standings. Starts with some strong droning. We see this now as they've got good information down over towards office. Once again, this east stairs has been the focal point. That it's again Sexy Cake and Angels that are duoing to try to lock this down. It's been the biggest problem for Team Liquid so far. How do we break this east stairs hold? They've got Ask on the Ying to try to make something happen. They've of course still got the Blackbeard as well, now being piloted by Nesk. So they've got options for it, but it doesn't make it any easier. Going up against the smoke, all of these toxic babes that come with it. There goes the first.
And Maya will sprint on in, tracking down that smoke that you talked about, and it'll be Sexy Cake being watched. Florio starts things off. ENX 4 kills away from sending this game to overtime, which would effectively cripple Liquid and their chances of making a deep run this stage. They need all the points they can get, and going to overtime means you drop 1 on the way there. Look at all those bullet tracers. It's a hail of gunfire as Nesk walks away with a kill before being punished by the fires from Sexy Cake. Now it's gas being breathed in by Resets as he looks for an opening. Far removed from the bomb site, but eager to walk that diffuser in. Liquid at a numbers disadvantage.
I don't know if it looks by Florio here, Parker. This is a really deadly spot with the shotty.
Yeah, I don't think so at all, Jesse. I fear that will be the round. If they do not account for this or drone it out, and they don't have a chance, they have 1 drone remaining. That's it. There's nothing they can do at this current point in time. They just have to take fights dry with 50 seconds left.
They could track him, but they're also worried about Fountain. I mean, Sexy Cake is in here on the 90 hallway. They'll find Nigel, so they even out the numbers, but lots of players still to find.
Oh, the comeback from Liquid is now brewing. Suddenly they have the upper hand. Still, though, Florio in this position. There goes a death mark. Intended target is Florio, who bursts free. It almost gets 2. He finds 1. Harassed by the Demo, shotgun out, but Maya wins the fight. It all falls onto the shoulders of Bach. He knows there's 1 to the right. He knows the other will come towards Fountain. He takes the head off of Maya, and with just a tiny bit of time left, needs to do it again to Diaz. Liquid searching for their first win, but they won't get it in regulation. ENX propels us to OT.
19 years old rookie, the youngest player in the league, getting the clutch up against one of the most legendary clutch players in the world. Diaz again failing to get it done in the 1v1. Box still extremely young on this team, but the desk hyped up his potential. He has been statistically the #1 player on ENX since the season started. and he has forced this into overtime. Team Liquid, despite the fact that they had, I think, really good death marks coming out from the demos, despite the fact that they had good coordination to clean up players over towards 90 after they had that East control. Once they realized where those players were at, they responded to Florio's aggression really well. It just didn't matter. They lost that opening pick, and when the trades were strong from ENX, Liquid didn't have anything else they could have done about it. Really impressive stuff coming out from the young guy. ENX should be feeling very good, forcing Liquid all the way into overtime. And now, I mean, we've been talking nonstop, Parker, about how this is a must-win game for Liquid. ENX, if they can get a big win here, that'll be their second of the season. They'll hop up in and around that top 6 area. They're still going to be competitive for playoffs as well. So this would be a massive dub if they can get it done in overtime.
Oh, huge. Absolutely huge. It's been an exciting game, and I wouldn't go so far as to say that this is the game of the day. I do think Furia W7M absolutely has earned that title. It's one of the best regular season games I've seen in quite some time for a wide variety of reasons. And if you didn't tune into the match that came right before this, I would highly encourage it. It's definitely worth your time, even if you know the end result. You'll be surprised by some of the rounds. This one, though, has very much lived up to the billing. It hasn't been a technical masterclass, and there's been sloppiness in areas where both teams can very obviously improve. But the way that these two teams match up against each other leads to very exciting and explosive rounds. It's a synergistic bit of combat, if you can call it that. And of course, we have overtime. Really quite unsurprising. It's been a relatively long day, but, you know, it's our first SAL broadcast, so I expected it.
And not really contesting East as heavily this time, ENX. Maybe worried about how heavily they have contested in the past, that Liquid will adapt. After a little bit of util, Florio was able to fall off, leaving Angels kind of alone here in break room. There's players still with him in the hallway, but if he goes down, it's going to be a little bit difficult to trade him out. Now, you're going to know that he's here and he's got a great gun, so it won't be simple, but all eyes are on Angels at the moment.
Ness gets punished by Angels as Angels was looking for more. It looked like he was going to get the kill down below, but it was not to be had. Maya and resets on the ground. Yet another chaotic round where everybody is dying. He has basically ashes at this point. He's so low on HP. It's really up to ask. But as we've seen, even on a tiny portion of HP, you can still make it work. ENX collecting their kills really is all up to ask now, and he'll be punished by Angels. ENX not just pushing us to overtime, but now to match point.
Huge round from Angels. Not a player that has had much success so far in the SAL, but really stepping up big that time. I mentioned he had been kind of left all alone. His East Stairs player had left him, but what does he do? He goes and plays that Elamine perfectly to disrupt the shield, finds another player, that's Maya, that was down inside of waiting. I said all eyes were on Angels. Maya's eyes weren't. Credit to Maya, he did get a pick down on that bottom floor, but it didn't matter when Angels was the big problem player. This guy spent 4.5 years Tier 2 in Brazil. Stage 2 last year, he moved to Argentina and qualified for the Hispanic LATAM South League with an all-Brazilian roster. Failed to make playoffs. Was a really disappointing season for Angels. Now it's his first time actually playing with the big dogs in Brazil. And again, hasn't had the most success, has been struggling from time to time, but I think this game is really showing what he's capable of, playing very well in that Ela position, especially on the defense.
Quite very impressed with a lot of these ENX players, Jesse.
Yeah.
Angels obviously has continued to improve as it's gone on, but I mean, the whole team is frankly doing quite well. Every player is above 500 right now, except for Nigel, who, again, Nigel is playing the toughest role on the team, as is Ask on the side of Liquid. So it stands to reason that both of them would be at the bottom of the standings. I do feel a bit for Diaz. He has had also very impactful rounds. I think at this point you could argue more impactful rounds overall than Resets has. But we haven't really been talking about Diaz very much because the rounds where they've been winning, it's been Diaz doing a lot of the work, but everybody else has been helping out or has still stayed alive. Much easier for us to talk about how flashy Resets has been, and he's getting impactful kills in the final moments of a round, win or lose. Team Liquid now move to defense, and they have to win this round or they end up in the same position they entered in, winless. through all their games.
You gotta be worried about the mental too at this point. You were up 6-4 and this game has spiraled out of control. Sexy Cake is almost at the site, by the way. Ask is in a position to catch 2 players, which is huge, but the defuse kit's still going down.
And 2 for Ask to bring these numbers back. Sexy Cake stopped by Ask, who's now put together quite a tidy little round. And a 4th is just within reach. Very limited patience from Ask. So now it's Maya to potentially collect the kill that had just slipped through the fingers of the Tuberel. Florio and Bach as the last one standing, but now Bach is down. These rounds are so decisive, Jesse. Diaz with the 2 clean exit kills to continue to tick up the number of kills he has, and all 15 rounds are needed between these 2 teams.
The newcomers claiming all 5 kills in that round, Ask and Diaz. Diaz great late round, but for me it's Ask who really was in the right position to stop that. The new captain of Liquid coming in to replace Lagonis in the offseason. Don't forget, yeah, he's maybe not had the best stats so far this game or this stage, and you can say, oh, he's playing support. You don't expect him to have good stats, and that's all true. But when he was the IGL for Black Dragons back in stage 2, when they made it to Montreal, he was also the hard carry of that team, going plus 27 overall. Looks like the best gunner that Black Dragons had at that event. So he is more than capable of putting up big numbers like that. And I honestly think that, like, him fragging has kind of been what's missing from Liquid over the last couple of weeks. You know, he's known as a fragging IGL, somebody who can go out and get a ton of kills while still being a leader for the team. And while I'm sure he's been doing a good job leading an IGLing Team Liquid, he hasn't really been on the stat sheet as much as I kind of expected when he got picked up. But to see him show up in a big round like that when things matter the most, that could be what they look back on. It was a really good rush from ENX that was coming in, all stopped by one man who was in the right spot.
Individual heroics have been the name of the game so far today, and there's a number of players who are in contention for a play of the day. I have a feeling it's going to remain KDS, but KZ has definitely given him a run for his money. We've seen some good moments from Resets and Ask as well. Angels had a great moment earlier in the game too. I don't know if it's enough to challenge the KZ as well as the KDS moments. Those were really quite something, and you don't get to see them every day, and we got to see them both in the exact same play day. Do or die for both of these teams. Team Liquid still winless, looking for their first victory. Both teams, by making it to overtime, have gained a point. Which one will come out with the extra point? Liquid desperate for it as they sit in dead last in the league.
Entries have been converted in all rounds but 2 so far, so the opening pick is critical, and ENX will claim it. ENX, Angels at the top of the metal stairs, finds Ask. He's in a dangerous position, still 3 toxic babes in his pocket, but not punished at all. There's no follow-up. Ask seems to be all alone, despite his heroics in round 14. In the 15th, he might have just tossed it with that opening pick going the way of ENX. Rest of Liquid need to find an answer at this point. Everybody on ENX is able to retreat back to the site if they want to. Sexy Cake makes the move now. Nigel Angels and Box still playing up above. They don't need to drop down until this push actually starts to come through.
There goes the E1D. Liquid fighting from behind, fighting for their lives and potentially for their stage. The top of the standings likely out of reach, but to salvage a playoff spot, Liquid needs every point they can get. ENX much better suited at the moment to climb to the top, and they look poised to do it. Liquid swinging for the fences. They get one on a down, but traded back immediately by ENX. Bach unable to be recovered. ENX will now need to scramble. 2 players remain from Liquid. Resets holding on to the case. Maya getting softened up, and there goes Resets. It's all up to Maya. Numbers underwater, and Liquid themselves at jeopardy of the same thing transpiring. Maya sweeping in, collecting a kill and finishing another. No diffuser to be had. Remaining players from ENX now positioned well within the grasps of the bomb site, but both playing above. Deathmark coming in. Angels and Sexy Cake babysitting the diffuser. Maya, a valiant effort now slowed down by Agumine, giving information to ENX as Liquid so desperately need the points and the win. Out through the doorway. Grenades going out. Maya not finding a target just yet and punished by Angels as ENX picks up a massive victory in OT against Liquid.